I'm Jeff Murrah, and I want to welcome you to True Texas History. Today, we're going to be talking about the Great Fire of 1881 that burned down the Texas Capitol. And that happened on this day, November the 9th, 1881. Now, a few things to keep in mind. First of all, the first capital of Texas was located not in Austin, but in Columbia, Texas. Then the second capital was built. It burned down. Third capital was built in Austin. That's the one we're going to be talking about today. It was burned down. And then we have the final capital that is there now. And back in, I believe, 1983, one of the wings caught fire and was at risk of burning down. Now, the fire itself, keep in mind that the old Capitol had wooden floors. And they also, the heating of the building was done by wood stoves. And the custodian, on this particularly cold day, because it was one of those early northerns that blew through that November, the custodian was sweeping the Capitol, and who knows whether he threw some extra wood in the stove or whatever, but when he went to the next room and sweeping, he started smelling smoke, and he went back to the room that he had just previously been in and saw that papers and cinders had gotten on the floor and had started the wooden flooring on fire. When the alarm was sounding, the Austin Fire Department responded, but the state legislature, the needs of the people of Texas were put on the back burner once again, and the state legislature had not seen to it that the issue of low water pressure in Austin had been addressed. So the water hoses did not have enough pressure to go ahead and put out the fire, at least initially. So they just kind of sat back and watched the old building burn. Some people, one of the local papers actually got a kick out of it, and they thought that the state legislatures were just burning up more than their fair share of wood. Back in those days, the people of Texas were very interested in how much wood the legislature went through to go ahead and keep warm, and they considered it frivolous when they wasted too much wood. But the fire did end up destroying the Capitol. Now, one enterprising man, H.P.N. Gammel, managed to get the contract to clean up the Capitol grounds, and he found a lot of old papers, ended up taking them home, drying them out on a clothesline, and then binding them and having them printed, and that began one of the foundations of Texas legal documents, H.P.N. Gammel's Laws of Texas. Because in the papers he found the official legal proceedings and congressional proceedings and all that stuff going back to when we were still part of New Spain, and then when we were part of Mexico, and so forth. And this serves as a foundational document. If you're going to do any kind of study of the legal history of Texas, I always found the story quite fascinating. After the success of it being published, he and his wife went ahead and annually published the proceedings of the Texas legislature for several years afterwards. Now, on top of that, and this is interesting, the custodian who was on duty when the fire started, he stayed on the Texas payroll until he retired in the early part of the 20th century. So he was not fired for what happened. He never denied that happened. Now, investigations later found that there may have been some problems with the way that the piping was set up, but that's what happened this day back in 1881. And you can find out more about that in my Texas history book. Texans Always Move Them, A True History of Texas. So until next time, this is Jeff Murrah, wishing you via con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.